Good morning, my YouTube family. This is Country Advice coming to you. I want to talk to you about grief and loss. Whereas, everyone in life experiences grief and loss, uh, whether that's through death or that's the parting of something that you care about or love. But the whole idea is this is a video that talks about grief and loss. So as normal, we're going to start with a definition. So as a working definition, we're going to say grief is a natural response to loss. It's the emotional attachment. Grief is the emotional attachment to loss. Loss is the actual event of losing something, someone taken away from you. And grief is the response to that. All right? There are 5 stages of grief. And I'd like to explain them. So the 5 stages of grief is denial and isolation. The next stage is anger. The next stage is bargaining. The next stage is depression. And the last stage is acceptance. So let me say those stages again. There are 5 stages of grief. The first stage is denial and isolation. The second stage is anger. The third stage is bargaining. The fourth stage is depression. And the fifth and final stage is acceptance. So it's important to understand that in the first stage of denial, that folks begin to try and deny the event that has happened, that has occurred, and they begin to isolate themselves, right, to try and process. So the whole idea is the stages of grief is a process that individuals go back and forth from, right? The second stage of anger is an emotional response, right, to the loss. In the bargaining stage, folks begin to think about what it is that I could have done, or what is it that I have to do to make it through this situation. And folks can go back and forth through each of these stages. The fourth stage is depression. Depression in and of itself, to me, is a separation from those things that you once enjoyed. So it's important that we understand these stages so then we can deal through the process of dealing with grief and loss. And the last stage is acceptance, when we begin to accept what's happening and we begin to move forward. But even though one might accept what has happened, there still could be a lifelong grieving process. Like the loss of my mother. I grieve the loss of my mother. And I think about her, I grieve the loss. But through the times, through the years, I've learned to accept this, and it becomes easier as you process through. So I just like to thank you for listening to this video. And I have a couple more things to say. So for me to deal with whatever I'm dealing with in life, I'm learning to look to the hills from which cometh my help. My help cometh from the Lord. And when I think about this as it relates to grief and loss, I'm thinking about, the lesson or the blessing in what's happening in life. What legacy am I leaving as it relates to when I was born to when I die? So it's just important that the weight of depression is understood, the sadness in life is a part of the grief process. Acceptance is coming to terms with what has happened in the loss and learning to cope with the loss can take time. It's going to take time. So I'd like to thank you for listening to this video. And I'd like you to like, share, and subscribe, and to let everyone know that you're not alone as you deal with grief and loss. There's help. Looking to the hills from which cometh your help. Your help comes from the Lord. So thank you for listening, and I hope you have a wonderful day.